a very good day one more time. We welcome you to yet another spot on the ride this morning. Yeah, it's Morning Ride Tuesday's edition of the program. And the health, they say, is wealth. If you have health, you have everything. Yesterday, I did tell you that Nigerians were actually grouping in abject poverty, and there are a lot of issues that actually lead to that, and one of them is majorly health, where they cannot afford the affordables. And so we had to look at a lot of variances, issues that possibly can lead to all of that. And one ailment that I particularly started taking note of, with particular interest, was the silent killer. The silent killer who doesn't give you any form of notice. Hypertension. And from studies, I found out that for every 10 Nigerians, or for every 10 humans on the road that you see walk, 4 of them have hypertension. And it doesn't show on the face. I give you a particular instance of somebody who stopped a bike, and as the guy was about getting into the bike, he collapsed. The hospital was just about 500 meters close by. By the time they got to the hospital, it was BID, brought in the hypertension. And so I took time to make sure I have with us in the studio to come and educate, sensitize, carry out advocacy on this silent killer. I have with me Dr. Obiazo Chukwu Emeka, a very senior medical practitioner. Doctor, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, doctor.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
Me too.
Yeah, hypertension is a silent killer. And we know that you guys who are in the medical, the medics, know better than those of us who are on the side. Can you just speak to that, the cause of hypertension?
So, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me in this place. It's really a wonderful pleasure. So, most times when I see patients, I like to give explanation with a tank and a pipeline, like borehole system. So now we know that hypertension is the increased blood supply through the artery. So now, for example, let us use this case instance, like you have a pipe, and you have this pipe is to deliver water to the tank. So, but what about if this pipe pressure is bigger than the normal pressure is supposed to take to the tank? What happens if it bursts? So the normal thing you normally do most times when you're at home is that you do normal checkup, you do normal renovation, normal check of these facilities. So because if you don't check, you will not know when the pressure of that particular pressure going through the pipe is more for you to cause explosion or cause damage to the pipe. The same thing to hypertension. So hypertension is not something that you just know. You know when you do normal checkup. And we notice that because of the way our system is, because of how busy everybody is, we tend not to have that time to want to do normal bypass check or normal check for our blood pressure.
So before now, it wasn't a thing for us, especially in this part of the world, in Nigeria. You hardly hear that. I'm talking about like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. It wasn't much prevalent in this part of the world, and but now everybody's dying, and then say the BPs got triggered, and then that's it. So, what are the triggers? Let's know why are we having it now so much? High blood pressure is like a thing. Everybody is being advised now or encouraged to buy the blood pressure machine. Oh, once you're 35, before they say 40 and above, but now no, even children come down with high blood pressure. So, what are the triggers, and what is the major causes of high blood pressure, and what triggers it?
Okay, so just the way you said, now we should understand that the world is changing. So now, 20 years, 30 years ago, the food we eat cannot be compared to what we eat now. So we find out that the majority of what we eat now are majority of what we eat now are not, how would I put it, different from what we eat then. For example, then we don't actually have a lot of insult intake, but now there's a lot of people that eat and eat, have a lot of insult intake. Now, when you come talk about spices, you see a lot of food that we eat. People eat maggies, people eat shawarma that has um, a lot of spices there, which also could cause or causes increase in this blood pressure. And we also understand that the blood pressure could, anytime you see hypertension, one thing that is common again is diabetes. Now, one thing we should understand that feeding is one of the cause of hypertension and other related illnesses. So you'll find out that majority of our food now contains glucose, contains fats, which could also predispose this patient to diabetes, which could also affect the hypertension. So just the way I've said before now, you know, as I give example of trying to use the pipe and the tank. Now you know that a lot of things could actually affect the pipe. So it can either be the pipe was either being destroyed by itself, or there's a blockage in the supply of the water from the pipe to the tank. So that is the same thing that could happen when it comes to hypertension. So it could actually be as a result of cause, which is a direct effect on the pipeline, or it could be other disease conditions like diabetes, like atherosclerosis, and any more which could actually predispose. And that we should also understand that because of this period of time we are, where then you can't compare them with now because of the level of awareness. Then someone can just die and we just take it as target as our village people attack. But now there's a lot of awareness, so people are really, really concerned about what we have.
Now, you also mentioned low blood pressure, because when you talk about hypertension, everybody's focusing on the high blood pressure. Oh, your BP is high, but we don't really also think, or have to know that, okay, we also have what we call the low blood pressure that they say kills even faster than the high blood pressure. So what are the signs that we need to watch out for both the high and the low blood pressure?
Okay, so mostly I try to explain to the basis so we will understand some things. So for example now, let's give an example with the same pipeline and tank. Now, because why I'm using that explanation is something that we can all relate to. So one of the things we can understand when there's increasing, like the pressure in the pipeline is high, what we notice is first the pipeline or the pipe just burst. So one of the features you can understand when you have hypertension is that you find out the person is having a headache. So you find out one of the time they say that I'm having severe headache. So why are they having a severe headache? It could be as a result that the blood supply supplying the particular department of the brain has rupture, causing blood supply letting that part of the brain. And that reason again, you come down that someone just walked through the road and just say someone has stroke. That is one. So when there is stroke, meaning that the blood supply supplying that particular place has been compromised. So when that blood supply that is compromised, what they affect is that the function of that particular place is really affected. You get, so that's another feature we can notice. And that feature we can notice is you see they'll say that I'm having blood visions. Now why blood visions? Now the reason that we also understand is that when there is increased pressure of blood supply to the artery, it actually affects the functions of the artery in that particular vessel. So the function depends on the effect. So let me the symptom depends on the effect on that particular organ is affected.
All right, so a good follow-up to that question. 4 in every 10 human beings, actually hypertensive. And like I said yesterday, our fathers many years ago, when they want to take alcohol, they don't use sugar. They use even crayfish or something that will just, and then you will say, no, this thing is toxic. Part sugar, part milk, and all of that. Sedentary lifestyle too is also responsible for all of these hypertensive
cases.
Okay, so can you speak to that quickly?
Okay, so that is, first of all, what we think we need to do first is trying to create an awareness. So when you create an awareness of what is going on, it makes it very easy for you to be able to tackle the issue. So if people are really aware about hypertension and various causes of this hypertension, the next thing is how do we prevent this hypertension? And one of the ways is first, they say there is no smoke without fire. So if we can be able to monitor the normal BP check, which we do, has a long way to go compared, like more than anything you can explain. So if we can have that regular check, it is going to be very wonderful. The next thing which we cannot rule out is feed. Our food. We have to be very conscious about what we eat, because what we eat actually has a lot to play with what will really affect our personality. So once we're able to tackle what we eat and how we eat, it reduces the chances of trying to have this image. Now, for example, let us talk about what we eat. Now, once you eat improperly or you eat in a wrongful way, what happens, it tends to cause obesity, and obesity has an effect on the heart. So, for example, now let's use this example that you have a car, and the car is supposed to carry 3 boxes, and with time it becomes carrying 5 boxes or carrying 6 boxes. What happens to the tire of the car? It bursts. So our normal system is programmed based on what we can function. So when we carry or when we start doing something that are not related to what we can do, it affects the nature of the body. So the next other thing we should do is now trying to have regular exercise. It can be how would I put this? It can be funny or it can be a simple thing, that normal sit up, that normal workout. It may find that this thing does not have an effect, but to be frank, it has a lot of effect, because you can't control your level of calories, or you can't control the level of fat you build up. Yes, we might say we must watch out what to eat, but one of the ways we can do that is we try burning out those fats, which we have by normally doing regular exercise. So I think these few points could actually go a long way. And the next one I would think is having to have a normal visitations, not having to have self-proclaimed medications.
Visitation to hospitals. Check. But there are some people belongs to this school of thought that and say that when people who have high blood pressure are overthinkers, people who think too much. That when you are being pressured, out of pressure, and then you have high blood pressure. Is that correct?
Narrative is right, because now it's not about the thinking per se, it's about the stress. So now, because we have said it, that the whole concept is there's increased blood pressure more than the normal pressure that is supposed to be in the artery. So whatever thing that causes stress causes an increase in blood pressure. So most times, because of the nature of the system we have, now it's not that hypertension is not common in the US, it's not common in Europe, but the problem is because of how our system is, because of how the pressure is, because of the medications and the medical care, we tend to have a lot of issues with it. So one of the things is that because of the stress, it causes increase in blood pressure, and because we don't normally check our blood pressures, it's always tied that people that things have increased blood pressure.
Okay, just before we let you go now, you are SA2, the member representing Oshimili South in the House of Assembly, Bridget Tanyapu. So under medicals now, and there are plans to carry out medical outreach. Can you speak to that before we let you go?
Okay, so first and foremost, we needed to look at the system. So before we did the outreach, we needed to look at the census. We made our own statistics about the incidence of cases that were common within the local government. And one of the cases we noticed was hypertension. So we found out, okay, what was first? So there's this saying that first identifying the problem and finding a way to solve this problem. So we understand that one of the things was there's hypertension, there's increased epidemiology of hypertension in the local government. And the thing that was painful was that not just the 60s, even people of 20s, 30, 35 were having hypertension. So the question was like, why this increase in blood pressure, or why this pandemic of hypertension in the local government? So it's okay. First thing first, probably people are not aware of hypertension. Not aware, not like knowing it in a big grammar, but probably knowing it in a more realistic view. So it's like, okay, how do we actually do that? So the concept was to bring this level of awareness to the market women, which we have noticed are more prone to these conditions. Not prone based on their based on their activity or as their profession, or pump because they don't have time for themselves to actually go to the various hospital to have a checkup. During my period working in as a specialist, we noticed that majority of the people that actually have this application are traders. Someone will just be selling and before the person collapse and come with a BP of 200 or one something like, why is it happening to be so? So the concept was to see how we can create awareness. So that was one. So we also noticed that there is actually a level of poverty in the system. So the question was that how do we able to create an awareness and still be able to provide medications? Because if you only create an awareness and you don't do something, you actually have not done anything. Just the way you say that you call someone and someone say I'm hungry, and just say I'm hungry,
It
and
is well
and it is when you don't give that with this nothing you have done. So the question was like, how do we actually give a little support? So we said, okay, probably if we can be able to do the awareness and give them some drugs. So in this way, this period of drug will be able to last for a period of time, hoping that before the drug will end, they'll be able to come back to the hospital to be able to have a checkup. So now we also understand that this little way too will not still be sufficient. So the question was like, how do we also make it much better? Also working towards a plan of trying to see how we can be able to enroll some group of people into the contributory scheme, because now the state has actually done a lot through the contributory health fund, trying to as much as possible provide basic health service to everybody. So in our own little ways, how do we now actually help our people to benefit from this scheme? So the only one of the way we are thinking is if we can, as for our own self, try to subscribe some group of people on this scheme. So this is our own way of trying to not just create awareness, but trying to provide a sustainable plan for our people.
All right. I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. John Nwokolo, for actually coming around to speak to us on hypertension advocacy and way forward. We do hope again that we'll always be inviting you because to me advocacy is the word. It's not just a one runoff. Okay, there are a few people who will hear this, quite a few number two would also not hear. So the consistency is the name of the game.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to do our best to sustain the
Advocacy.
member representing Oshimole South, Honorable Bridget Yafule, on this drive alongside of you, if you will always be there.
Yes, yes, I want to be there. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask this question. Let me ask it now about the medication, because the fear for some persons, when you tell them to check, they say, so when I check and they tell me I have high blood pressure, I will not be taking medication, for the rest of my life. I will live on drugs. Is that? I mean, I don't understand why somebody would have to live on drugs. Is there no particular time that when you take it and it's stable, you now live your life without drugs?
So let me make this explanation. Go back again. I think one thing I will understand is if we try to understand the basics, the principles. So let's go back to the tank and the pipe. Now, when the pipe has spoiled, has got damaged, what is the best way? Is it that you try to patch it, and even if you patch it, always the function of that pipe is still damaged. So the most probable solution to that pipe is actually to change the pipe if you really want to change, if you really want to function or solve that problem. So now we can't change the blood vessel, we can't change the heart, we can't do anything. But what we can do is to find a supplement to this. So one of the supplements or trying to make sure that you still function within your do your normal function is those drugs. So those drugs is like being your gums, trying to make sure this thing has been damaged, but let us try to make sure that it doesn't get bad. You get so because of that you just have to be on the drugs. So what could happen is that when these drugs has been the function has been maintained for a while, what they do is that they give you normal regular check. So it's up to the personnel or the medical personnel to be the one to regulate the dosage of the drug. So for example, if you're taking probably 10 drugs and the BP is okay, you might reduce the drug to 2 and reduce to 1 for maintenance. And if it comes and say, okay, the blood pressure is okay, it's fine, they can now move it to alternate. So the best person to regulate your medication it's actually the medical person and not yourself because you totally don't understand the basics. Just the way that the best person to manage the pipe is the plumber. So when you have issues, you come to call the plumber. Go, please, can you help me to rectify? That's how it goes. So those are the awareness. Those are the things we are trying to create awareness for. So because we notice that because people are not really aware of this condition, people make a lot of wrong guesses, a lot of wrong assumptions. So, but if you are aware and you are really well informed and you are visiting the facilities, what it does is it removes those wrong information and those wrong perspective you have.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's a more explicit
Right.
understanding now. All right, we'll take yet another break on the ride this morning from the